Hello everyone, and welcome to Portal 64. I'm your host, David, and today I'm going to talk about defending Blake Belladonna, because after the climax of Volume 3, she's been getting a lot of hate, and I can understand why, but I honestly think the hostility towards her is getting a little much. There's just been video after video in my YouTube suggestions on like people hating Blake or saying the writing for her is terrible, and basically a lot of people just tearing apart her character and her arc, and I kind of wanted to get in defense of it because Blake is an awesome person. I relate to her a lot. Before I dive into this discussion, I just want to say this isn't one of Crow's drunk bar fights, so keep the comments civil, please. It's okay to disagree with me, whether you love her or hate her, and let's just get into it. First, I want to rehash what led up to the hate that she got in Volume 3, and a lot of that gets pointed back to burning the candle back in Volume 2. During around the time, Blake, she's been running around investigating for the White Fang around Beacon, and she's been doing it alone, and she's working day and night. She's not getting a lot of sleep. She's going to crash and burn. Yang especially pulls her aside saying, hey, you need to start relying on us because people get hurt when you work alone, and it's going to be less effective, and you're just going to fail in the end. And Yang brought up this story about how when she was young, she was always looking for her mother, and one day she kind of like came across the story of a shed that she might be hiding at, so she kind of took Ruby with her into the woods, and they got attacked by Grimm, and they would have died if it wasn't for their Uncle Crow jumping into the rescue. And that was kind of like a, hey, you know, like, I could have died, I've learned to be better, and you need to learn to be better too. I'm here for you. You need to trust us. I know you've been through a lot of hurt in the past, but we need to be a team because we are a team, and it doesn't work when you're not being a part of that. And Blake seemed to say, like, yes, I'm going to rely on you, and shortly after that, you know, the team gets together and they're like, all right, we're going to investigate this. A lot of people point towards that saying, hey, because of that conversation, Blake should not have left in Volume 3. And I agree. There's a lot of like, hey, that doesn't, you know, if someone's told to work with the team, it would make sense if they worked with the team, not run away from them. But if we go into her past, there's a lot more explanation there as to why she left and why it makes sense that she left. Just because characters make decisions we disagree with doesn't mean it's bad writing, so to say. This next part I'm going to be comparing to Buffy the Vampire Slayer quite a bit, because there is a moment in Season 2, and I believe later in like Season 6, kind of similar to this. We know in the past, Blake used to be a part of the White Fang, and the White Fang used to be run by her parents. Her father, in particular, was the leader of the White Fang, or even the founder of the White Fang, and eventually the White Fang started to split away, and her father stepped down, and she stayed with Adam, who was her boyfriend, and she kind of slowly started to watch Adam turn into something that was no longer what she stood for, and the White Fang kind of changed with him into something that she no longer believed for. And Adam became a very manipulative and abusive person and became just full of hate, and she kind of feels like she betrayed her parents in leaving them for Adam, and even kind of hurt Ilya, her best friend, by focusing more on her love rather than her friendship with Ilya. And so she feels like she's done a lot of betrayal there, and eventually she gets to the breaking point where she's going to right her wrongs, and she once again betrays Adam, the White Fang, which she used to believe in and trust, and even break off her belief and trust with Ilya, and eventually became part of Team RWBY. So when we see Blake, she's obviously very isolated as a person. She doesn't really want to make connections, because so far all the connections in her life have just kind of gone down the gutter. By the time Volume 3 ends, she's only been with the team for a year tops. And, you know, trust, it takes a little longer to make, especially when you've gone through a lot of trauma and trust issues. It's not going to be so easy. And she did have a strong bond with Yang, but her nature is still going to fight against her. When Adam comes crashing back, and he and the White Fang just totally destroy Beacon Academy and the Kingdom of Vale. That brings back a lot of trauma. A lot of wounds get reopened, and she just kind of freaks out and runs off because she needs to rest and clear her head. She doesn't know what to do. And also, in the meantime, make amends with her parents, because that's kind of where this road that she took started, was betraying her parents and having a lot of guilt over that. And maybe to get rid of her guilt, she needs to start where she started and just go back to her roots. And this is a little similar to what Buffy Summers did at the end of Season 2. During Season 2, she was dating a vampire who had a soul named Angel. And Angel, if he ever experiences true happiness, he loses his soul. And when he doesn't have his soul, he's a super evil guy, and honestly, probably one of the best villains that series has ever had. He becomes Angelus, and he really just wrecked up Sunnydale. He killed her best friend's goldfish to kind of like as a threat and just scare them, and he was very manipulative and abusive, and Buffy, in the end, had to fight him and kind of end up killing him and sending him to hell at the end of that. His soul did get restored, but it was kind of in the oops, too late moment. And Buffy, you know, after having like her love betray her and then see that she kind of betrayed her love by sending him to hell just when she had actually just saved him, she runs away, and she doesn't come back for like a couple of episodes. That's in the Season 2 finale, and I believe it's like not till episode 2 or episode 3 of Season 3 that she comes back to Sunnydale to help her friends. And if you think about it, those two situations, there are differences, but there's quite a few similarities. And in the Buffy fandom, from what I can find online, no one really blamed or hated Buffy for that. People were upset that she did it, but no one said it was bad writing. They're like, well, Buffy's human. Like, people make dumb mistakes. No one's perfect. And the same could be applied to Blake. Like, leaving her team despite trying to build this trust with them and everyone saying, yes, we have this trust, she leaves that. Could have at least left a note, but I do not think that's bad writing at all. It makes sense for her character. And with Buffy, she had multiple times where she talked with her friends about working as a team, relying on each other. Just because she's the Slayer, she doesn't have to work it alone. And her friend even learns witchcraft to help her out, and everyone's just being super supportive of her, just as Team RWBY is of Blake. I think it's just really weird that people are willing to just jump on Blake's neck and not so much Buffy's. Like, I was angry at Buffy, but I didn't go, this is terrible writing. It was something that drew me into the show and helped us learn more about Buffy. And as we see into Volume 4 and Volume 5, we learn more about Blake. We learn more about her past and her dynamic with her parents. Her parents are fantastic. They forgive her. They help her heal and gain the strength and help her clear her head to know where to right her wrongs. And in Volume 5, she gets Menagerie back together to go take back the White Fang. They're going to fight and take down the White Fang and say, hey, this is not who we are, you know? And it's like, that's a great moment. Blake's a great character. She's a great person. Now she's going to have to repair her relationships with the rest of the team, and by no means is that bad writing. I would say it would be bad writing for it to start Volume 6 with everyone perfectly fine and not talk about it. But as it is right now, I say it's fine. It's great writing. I love Blake. She's an amazing character. She has my favorite weapon in the series. Like, whenever I'm trying to think of like an OC or like how I would be as an original character in RWBY, I keep accidentally thinking of Gamble and Shroud. I keep going, oh, I want a sword that turns into a gun, and maybe it could be a grappling hook. And then I remembered, no, that's Gamble and Shroud. I can't do that. I really don't think that having an imperfect character equals bad writing, or a character making a decision that makes the audience angry is bad writing. I think it can be pretty intriguing. Just where it goes next could lead to some bad writing, or it could be some good writing. And I trust Miles and Carrie to do a good job with this. So, anyway, that's my defense of Blake. I just have a lot of feelings for her. I think Volume 4 did a lot of work with her character, and I really enjoyed it with her and Weiss. I will defend them. And a lot of people are like, yes, with Weiss, but not with Blake. And honestly, I think the treatment's a little unfair. So I know I'm just repeating myself at this point. But guys, let me know what you think about Blake. Remember, it is not one of Crow's bar fights when he gets cut off the tab. So anyway, with that, I'll boop you next time.